There you go.
People to join in, and I think it'll be good to start. Folks, welcome to this talk. I'm going to be talking about, it's a higher ed migration, but it was more of an upgrade from Drupal 7 to Drupal 8. But there were certain additional stuffs which were included with it, which I'm going to talk about. My name is Piyush, and I work as the practice lead for Drupal practices with Q8042. I'm going to briefly talk about the project a little bit. So this was done for one of the business schools in the world, and the project included migrating a website which was done in Drupal 7 to Drupal 8. When we were interacting with the customer, we also spoke with them and asked them, like, do you have UX problems which you want to solve along with this migration, because that would be the right time to do it. Because when you're moving from Drupal 7 to Drupal 8, that's you're going to rewrite your entire theme. So why not consider it right then and there? And the customer liked the idea a lot, and they were like, yes, there are a number of things that we want to standardize across the projects. We want to change the layout from 2-column to a single-column layout where we don't see a lot of interactions happening with the left bar or sidebar. The content on the left sidebar based on the analytics. To give you a very about the site build structure, the website involved something like 24 different content types. One of them, page content type, was based on page manager and panelizer, which meant that every other page could have different set of components and different kind of structure with it. Couple of key challenges, couple of key areas that the customer wanted to cover or ensure during this migration upgrade was making sure that the data has been migrated correctly from Drupal 7 to Drupal 8. And we have heard this question in the past. How do you going to ensure that the completeness of data that has been migrated over from the legacy site to the new site, right? And I'm quite sure people over here might have run into the same question a number of times. Auto captioning. I'm sorry, Julie, but I wasn't. Live caption. Thanks for the tip. I have enabled that one, the live caption. But yeah, coming back to the topic, how do you ensure that the completeness of data that has been migrated over from Drupal 7 to Drupal 8, or Framework X to Drupal, or Framework X to Framework Y in a typical migration project, right? We implemented a solution for it as a part of this project, which I'll talk very briefly about. But yeah, these were typically the key key areas of the project. Trying to refine our talk and restrict it to a couple of specific key business requirements. So the website was broken down into different sections, and each section had certain kind of content owners, right? Or schools who would own the content or create the content or update the content for that specific section. And the customer really needed a governance structure around content creation, because they were running into issues like someone deleted or edited the page that belonged to other section, right? At the same time, they also wanted complete independence in terms of creating new content. Yeah, with the migration, we wanted the design standardization to come into picture, like having some sort of a style guide which talks about this is how the certain set of low-level components should look like, and they should be forming the base layer for building next level of components. Technical challenges that we faced as a part of this project, they were more related to how do we migrate a page manager plus panelizer based site build into paragraphs, because in Drupal 8 we decided that we'll go ahead with paragraphs. Um, there was content which was being modified. So since there was a content re-architecture between Drupal 7 and Drupal 8, even though the content was getting migrated as is from Drupal 7 to Drupal 8, there were certain content level changes that the customer wanted to do before the site could go live. So technically, there was new content being created on the live Drupal 7 site, which was live and available to the end users. And at the same time, there was content modifications being done on the Drupal 8 site, which had migrated content. We wanted to make sure that the new content that is being created on Drupal 7 plus content updates in Drupal 7 are flowing to the Drupal 8 site. At the same time, it's not overriding the changes that are being done by the content authors on the Drupal 8 site. And then comes the validation of completeness of migrated data, and then followed with the design standardization part, which I briefly talked about in the previous slide. To talk a little bit about the content structure and some stats around it. There were like 24 different content types which were merged together and reduced to something like 12 different content types in Drupal 8, simplifying the architecture. And there were like 44 different field collections and FPPs. I'm not very sure if everyone here would be familiar with the term FPP, but FPPs are fieldable panel panes. You can think of them as blocks which could be added to panel-based pages. So in total, there were 44 different low-level components which could be attached to different pages, building an entire page. And there were 24 different content types, out of which, like I would say, 20 had a finite or defined structure. Rest 4 of them were using as the approach for creating pages. We started the project. We got in with a discovery phase. We spoke to the customer and went through the Drupal 7 structure, compared it with the Drupal 8 architecture, and the outcome of this phase, even though it took like almost 2.5 weeks for us to go through this discovery phase, we came up with a field mapping document, which clearly laid out that this is the structure in Drupal 7, this is how it's going to look like, and this is what's going to be the replacement of it in D8. And this is the data attribute which is going to be transformed into this field in Drupal 8. Now, in terms of migration code approach that we took a hybrid approach, wherein we ran the Drupal code upgrade, generated YAML files, and then modified those YAML files to. We had migrations into multiple parts, low-level components, and then attaching them together to build the high-level components. Like you could think of low-level components as paragraphs, high-level component as a page. Low-level components could also be your files, media, entities, etc. To write a couple of custom source plugins, which to migrate field-level panel panes over to paragraphs in Drupal 8. There was no support for it out of the box. And which totally makes sense, because you don't really know what you're going to transform your FPPs into in Drupal 8. We implemented high watermark, support delta migrations, and at the same time, we had a content update tracker built, which would track the nodes being modified on the Drupal 8 site. We also grouped the migrations together into low level and high level, so that we could run them together so we would run the low level component migrations first as a group, using tags, and the second level L1, L2, L3, L4 were our levels or tags. To validate the completeness of data migration, the QA team leveraged the same discovery document, the field mapping document, and we built a framework for automated QA around migration. I'm going to talk a little bit in detail about this in a follow-up session on our booth about the same topic. So feel free to join the session, join us on our booth right after this talk. If you're interested in knowing more in detail about the automation. Here's a quick test suite. You could run it via Drush, and it would generate a report like this, showing total number of nodes that were migrated, passed, and number of failed items. This would be categorized into different field types, and another drill down array which would show you like where exactly it failed and what was the failure. To bring in a standardization at the front end layer, we built a small design system for the customer using Pattern Lab, which also provided them with a living style guide. The component-driven development helped the content managers in assembling these pages and being independent around creating new pages, right? It also brought some sort of standardization in terms of different components that are being built for the site, not just during the migration, but also in future when people are creating new pages. They need to take a couple of components, assemble a page. Pattern Lab also supported the developers in building these pages. Like people need to go ahead and create new components from scratch, and at the same time, the entire front end work could happen in parallel to the back end work. And it had an early UI preview for the customer to look at. Like, this is how your components are going to look like when assembled. This is how the page is going to look like. And yeah, it provided that level of details to the customers, and that level of flexibility to the customers in terms of designing new pages. Yeah, and overall, I think this project was more successful because we work with our customers as a part of our team, and that helped us creating an immersive experience um, for the entire project. I think we're over time, guys. For any further discussion around this topic, around this case study, join us on our booth. Devanshu has put in a link to our booth in the chat. We're going to continue doing a deep. We'll do a deeper dive for this case study as a part of our booth talk there. Thank you so much.